our monster variant of the show today is the Huntsman. What? Oh, it's the dog. It's like, it's the dog. So in order to build our monster variants, if you don't know, we always start with a stat block because while it's amazing to be able to just say that you can build a perfectly balanced character, sometimes it's easier just to start with framework that already exists and then go from there. So for our Huntsman, we're going to start with the Drider. We're going to lose some features and change some features. The size becomes medium. Any humanoid race becomes acceptable. Any alignment, it's going to lose Fey Ancestry. We're going to give it a new spell list. It's going to lose Spider Climb, Sunlight Sensitivity, Web Walker, and Bite. Now, for the new spell list, we're going to keep it simple for the Huntsman theme. We're going to give them At-Will Alarm because, setting a trip alarm is just something a Huntsman should do. And then twice a day, Good Berry and Ensnaring Strike. And I actually did add Snare to the list after the fact, but I realized I didn't actually add it here, so let's add that. So with that, we're going to give it some new actions. The Hunting Trap that it can use 3 times a day. The Huntsman can use an action to set up a trap with a sawtooth steel ring that snaps shut on a creature steps on the plate in the center. It is affixed to a chain. It is essentially the Hunter's Trap. Imagine that. The trap could be spotted with a DC 15. A creature that steps on the plate must succeed a DC 15 saving throw or take 44 piercing damage and stop moving. Thereafter, until the creature breaks free, it is basically stuck there on a short leash that it can't move its 5-foot square. A creature that can use its action, I realize I spelled that wrong, can use its action to make a DC 15 strength or thieves tools check to break it free or disable it entirely. On a failed check, you take 1d4 damage is done to the trapped creature. So we basically have an action to set traps. Now, because you can do it 3 a day, it lasts as long. So I love this monster for being able to set it up to catch my players on guard. Has that ever happened to you? Love it. The next feature we're going to give it is the Shrapnel Trap. So why just hang around with just the Hunting Trap when we can do better? This one can also be done 3 times a day. The Huntsman can use an action to set up a trap that bursts with caltraps or ball bearings when somebody steps on the pressure plate with the same DC as the Hunting Trap. A creature takes 2d10 piercing damage on a failed save and half as much on a successful one. Additionally, the area becomes covered in either shrapnel of the Huntsman Huntsman chose. In this case, with ball bearings, you must succeed on a DC 10 dexterity or a DC 15 dexterity saving throw when you enter the area if you're not moving half your speed, or if you do caltraps, you must succeed a DC 15 saving throw or stop moving and take 1 piercing damage. Whew. Okay, one more thing. As a reaction, it gets tactical retreat. When the Huntsman hits hit points lower than half its maximum, it can use its reaction to move up to half of its speed without provoking an op attack. As part of the action, it may drop a bag of ball bearings or caltraps before or during its movement. That's a lot. Yep. Obviously, I was designing a new class recently, and so this came up. I would love to hear Dale. I'd love to hear Dale's thoughts on this.
So the Shrapnel Trap, to me, that sounds like when you trip and your dice bag rips open.
Yes, and it goes everywhere. I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah, I've never seen mechanics for what's essentially like a bear trap kind of thing before. So that's awesome, and how useful, and of course something like that would exist, in a D&D setting.
Yeah, this is one of the fun things that I enjoyed about this is that it. So for those that don't know, every month I design a flavor of the month where I completely reflavor something. Well, I just did Craven the Hunter for our patrons. So having an NPC who tracks and stalks the players, then sets up traps and then engages them as they're caught in them, totally taking them by surprise, just needed to be fleshed out as a monster. And I feel like this really captured that essence. I always say that I think monsters need a reaction or legendary actions. So we give this one a one that lets them get away without being stabbed as much. So the snare and the alarm and all that stuff is on top of that. Ian, what do you think?
I definitely think there's a tactical nature to this creature. And obviously it's a creature that needs to be familiar with its environment because it needs to set these traps up ahead of time, because setting down traps in the middle of a fight is not particularly practical in most cases.
Don't step there. In his defense, if they start littering the battlefield, though, and then he doesn't have any push attacks. Huh, I should have thought about that.
Although one thing that could be kind of fun to do, though, is although suppose all these are actions, though, and don't take a minute to set up, too.
Delcinia says, I blacked out due to pun damage. What I missed? That's funny. Yeah, so this is definitely something that's a little more unique. I'm always working on new fun stuff, and I think the Huntsman came out pretty well. For those that are asking, part of our extraordinary expeditions was our first what's the thing beyond the goal? Stretch goal was to create 4 new classes, and I designed a trapper / huntsman ranger archetype. So I'm excited to share that with everybody. All right, that'll do it for our very long-winded Huntsman monster variant.